Imagine inheriting a sprawling ranch on the edge of a fancy suburban neighborhood, only for the HOA to launch a sneaky war to force you out by cutting off your water, blocking your roads and starving your livestock. But when they pushed too far, I turned the tables by opening a massive gun range right on the property line, turning their peaceful paradise into a symphony of gunfire. You won't believe how this petty feud exploded into total chaos. If you're hooked on wild HOA horror stories and epic revenge tales, smash that like button, subscribe for more insane property dramas, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let's dive into this unbelievable saga. I never thought my grandfather's old ranch would become the battleground for the pettiest war of my life. Tucked away on the outskirts of a gleaming suburb called Willow Creek Estates, the property had been in my family for generations. It was a rugged slice of heaven, acres of rolling hills, a barn full of horses, cattle grazing lazily under the sun, and a cozy cabin where I'd spent countless summers as a kid. When Grandpa passed away and left it all to me, I quit my city job and moved in, dreaming of a simple life away from the hustle. Little did I know the HOA next door had other plans. Willow Creek was one of those upscale communities where every lawn was manicured to perfection, every house painted in approved shades of beige, and every resident seemed to live by a Bible of rules thicker than a phone book. My ranch bordered their pristine world, separated only by a thin fence line, and from day one they saw me as an eyesore. It started small. A polite letter arrived in my mailbox, welcoming me to the area but reminding me that my rustic setup might not align with the neighborhood's aesthetic standards. They suggested I consider selling to a developer who could turn it into more luxury homes. I chuckled and tossed it aside, figuring it was just nosy neighbors being nosy. But then the complaints rolled in. My chickens were too noisy at dawn. My truck kicked up dust on the shared access road. Even the smell of hay bales offended their delicate noses. I ignored most of it, focusing on restoring the ranch, fixing fences, planting a vegetable garden, and adopting a few more animals to make it feel alive again. The real trouble began when Karen, yes, her name was actually Karen, took over as HOA president. She was a force of nature, a middle-aged powerhouse with a bob haircut sharper than her tongue, always armed with a clipboard and a superiority complex. Under her reign, the HOA meetings turned into strategy sessions aimed at me. They couldn't directly control my land since it wasn't part of their covenant, but they found loopholes. First, they petitioned the county to rezone the access road, claiming it was a private drive under their jurisdiction. Overnight, barriers appeared, forcing me to take a longer, bumpier route to town. Deliveries got delayed and my feed supplier started grumbling about the hassle. I fought it in court, but bureaucracy moved slower than molasses, and meanwhile my costs skyrocketed. Undeterred, I adapted, using ATVs to haul supplies and even installing solar panels for off-grid power. But Karen escalated. She rallied the residents to report my well water usage, accusing me of overpumping and causing their lawns to brown. Inspectors showed up unannounced, fining me for minor code violations that had never been an issue before. My water bill tripled as they pressured the utility company to monitor me closely. The animals suffered first. The cattle grew leaner as I rationed feed to cut expenses, and the horses paced restlessly in their stalls. I felt the noose tightening like they were trying to starve me out bit by bit. Nights grew longer as I pored over legal documents, my savings dwindling from lawyer fees. Friends advised selling, but this was Grandpa's legacy, the place where he'd taught me to ride and respect the land. Giving up wasn't an option. Whispers from sympathetic neighbors revealed the HOA's endgame, forced me into foreclosure so a developer buddy of Karen's could snap it up cheap. Rage simmered inside me, but I bided my time watching their smug gatherings from afar. One evening, as I repaired a fence along the border, inspiration struck. The property line ran right up against their community park, where yoga classes and picnics happened daily. My land was zoned agricultural with commercial allowances, including recreational facilities. What if I turned part of it into something that would make their lives as miserable as they'd made mine? The idea blossomed. A gun range. Legal, loud, and perfectly positioned to echo gunfire straight into their backyards. I spent weeks researching permits, consulting experts, and drawing up plans. By the time the HOA caught wind, it was too late. I'd filed everything quietly. Construction began at dawn one crisp morning, bulldozers carving out lanes while signs went up. Borderline gun range. Open soon. The first shots rang out during a test fire, and oh, the panic that ensued. But that was just the beginning of the storm. As the gun range took shape, the HOA's tactics grew desperate, setting the stage for an all-out confrontation that would shake the foundations of Willow Creek. The grand opening of Borderline Gun Range was a spectacle I savored from the start. I'd invested every spare dollar into making it top-notch. 10 shooting lanes with state-of-the-art targets, a pro shop stocked with ammo and gear, and even a small cafe for shooters to grab coffee between rounds. Billboards along the highway advertised it as the ultimate stress reliever on the edge of town, drawing enthusiasts from miles around. On opening day, cars lined the newly paved lot, and the air filled with the sharp cracks of rifles and pistols. From my observation deck, I watched the Willow Creek residents peer over their fences, faces twisted in horror. Karen was the first to react, storming up to my gate with a posse of board members demanding I shut it down immediately. But I had all the paperwork in order, and the sheriff's deputy I'd invited as a guest just shrugged and said it was legal. The noise became their nightmare. Every pop and bang reverberated through the neighborhood, interrupting conference calls, startling pets and shattering the illusion of suburban serenity. Yoga sessions in the park dissolved into chaos as participants jumped at each volley. Pool parties turned tense with kids plugging their ears while parents fumed. Property values, their sacred cow, began to dip as potential buyers toured homes only to flee at the first gunshot. I kept things professional. Strict safety protocols, hours limited to daylight, and even discounts for locals, though none from Willow Creek took me up on it. Business boomed. Weekends saw lines out the door, with groups from hunting clubs and law enforcement training sessions. Revenue poured in, allowing me to replenish the ranch's stocks and hire help. The animals fattened up, the fields greened, and for the first time in months I slept soundly. But the HOA didn't back down. They launched a barrage of lawsuits claiming noise pollution, environmental hazards, and even arguing that the gun range violated some obscure covenant spillover. Court dates piled up, but my lawyer, a sharpshooter himself, demolished their claims one by one. Karen orchestrated protests, with residents picketing my entrance carrying signs like, "Guns out, peace in." Media caught wind, and soon local news crews camped out, turning our feud into a viral sensation. Online forums buzzed with debates. Was I a hero standing up to HOA tyranny or a menace disrupting family life? Views split, but my side gained traction as stories of Karen's overreach leaked. Former residents shared tales of her fining kids for lemonade stands and banning holiday lights. Sympathy swung my way, and donations trickled in for my legal fund. Undeterred, the HOA tried dirtier tricks. They lobbied to divert the creek that fed my well, citing conservation needs, but environmental reports I commissioned proved it would devastate my livestock. When that failed, anonymous vandalism struck. Fences cut, targets spray-painted with threats. I installed cameras and caught a few culprits red-handed, leading to arrests that further tarnished their image. Tensions peaked at a town hall meeting where Karen presented a petition with hundreds of signatures demanding the range's closure. I countered with my own data: economic boosts from tourism, zero incidents, and testimonials from satisfied customers. The council sided with me, praising the range as a community asset. As defeats mounted, cracks appeared in the HOA's unity. Some residents quietly approached me, admitting they'd grown tired of Karen's iron fist and even booking private lessons at the range. Whispers of a recall election circulated, threatening her presidency. I expanded operations subtly, adding archery lanes and hosting charity shoots for veterans, which only bolstered my reputation. The ranch thrived like never before, with the gun range becoming its beating heart. Yet as the HOA regrouped for one final assault, I knew the war wasn't over. The ultimate showdown loomed, promising to redefine the borders of our worlds forever. With the gun range firing on all cylinders, the HOA's desperation reached fever pitch, culminating in a scheme that backfired spectacularly. Karen, sensing her grip slipping, convened emergency meetings to pool resources for a massive legal offensive. They hired a high-powered attorney from the city, aiming to challenge the zoning that allowed my operation. Funds from increased dues fueled the fight, but resentment brewed among residents weary of the financial drain. Meanwhile, my business evolved into a local landmark. I added educational classes on firearm safety, drawing families and schools, and partnered with wildlife groups for conservation events. The ranch bloomed. New orchards bore fruit, A petting zoo attracted visitors, and the once-starved livestock now roamed freely. Profits reinvested into eco-friendly upgrades like sound barriers that muffled noise toward Willow Creek, though I timed constructions to coincide with their events for maximum irony. The turning point came when leaked emails exposed Karen's ulterior motive. Her developer friend had promised kickbacks if the ranch sold. Scandal erupted, splashed across headlines as HOA corruption, plot to starve out neighbor for profit. Public outrage swelled, with petitions now targeting the HOA itself. Residents revolted, voting to oust Karen in a landslide recall. Her replacement, a reasonable engineer named Tom, extended an olive branch, proposing a truce. We negotiated buffers, extra fencing, adjusted hours, and in return they dropped all suits. Peace settled uneasily at first, but as months passed, some neighbors ventured over, curious about the range. A few even became regulars, bridging the divide. The ranch stood stronger, a testament to resilience, while Willow Creek learned the cost of overreach. In the end, what started as an attempt to starve me out forged an unbreakable legacy, proving that sometimes the best defense is a well-aimed offense. Thanks for sticking around for this wild ride through HOA hell. If you enjoyed the drama, hit that like button, subscribe for more epic stories, and drop a comment below with your own neighborhood nightmares. See you in the next one.